we've unveiled a new attraction. Attendance has spiked.
That was awesome.
Corporate felt genetic modification would up the wow factor.
They're dinosaurs. Wow enough.
She was designed to be bigger than the T-Rex.
What happened to the sibling?
She ate it.
Basically, here's the situation with Jurassic World. It's pretty much the manifestation of John Hammond's dream. So it's a fully functional, fully operational park with 20,000 visitors every single day. And my character, Claire, is the operational manager of the entire park. So she runs everything. And I don't know if there is necessarily a version in today's world of a similar kind of job that I could model this after. I mean, it's something like if like the biggest theme park in the world existed in Dubai, and it was a resort and it was a theme park and it was just like a huge spectacle, and you know, everyone was curious about what was happening there, and there were new attractions every other week, and you know, that's kind of, if you imagine that in today's world, that's sort of what Jurassic World is. And to be the person who is responsible for everything being okay, so that the PR disaster that Jurassic Park does not happen again in Jurassic World, so that doesn't occur. That basically gives you an idea of what my character, what is on her plate, and kind of like what she's facing. And yeah.
So needs some good SAT scores and
yes.
maybe like a few night classes.
Claire got a 1,600 on her SATs. She was a perfect student. I mean, it's actually interesting because what's so great about this character is that she is so flawed because she tries to be so perfect, and she is so rigid, and she has everything under control. Because I mean, what could happen here could be catastrophic, and so she really needs to watch every single element of the park. And what's really cool about Chris Pratt's character is that he's basically the opposite. They have a really fantastic relationship because at first in the film they have this tension between them because they come from two walks of life. They have two very different perspectives as to what is okay and what is not okay within this park. And ultimately, throughout this, they need to get on the same page, and they need to team up together.
These animals are thinking, I gotta eat. I gotta hunt. You gotta be able to relate to at least one of those things.
From what I've been able to gather from the trailer, a big part of the thread of this film is the new dinosaur that's being created for the park.
Yes.
Is that something that your character's been quite involved in bringing about?
Yes. So, basically, if you think about it, Jurassic World is a for-profit business. So, like any business, you think about your audience essentially, or you think about your consumer or your client, and the people who are visiting this park, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are visiting this park every single day, need new attractions to keep coming. Because if it's just the same old stuff, it's going to become a very tired, kind of antiquated park in no time, especially given, it's set in present day, and we know that there's, it's like, this is why there's constantly a new phone. I mean, you need to keep people excited about the next thing. So my character and Dr. Wu as well is tasked with the responsibility of keeping people excited and keeping people craving more. And what is born out of that is this dinosaur.
That kind of disaster that's being set up there that normally comes from it comes from hubris, right? Like
Exactly.
it's a classic kind of storytelling device. Normally, it seems like it's a male character that's driving that, and it's kind of like a sort of paternal skew towards it. Is it different? Is there a maternal balance to that? Is it different for a woman to have that kind of that creator, that Victor Frankenstein, that whomever type of point of view?
Yeah, I mean it's Well, what I would say is that it's typically in film, there are not a large number of female protagonists, period. And in fact, like, we could say arguably half the world is male and half the world is female, right? So only 10% of movies actually depict a world in which half the characters, half the background artists, half the people that you see on screen are actually male and half of them are female. So I think in part in storytelling, why there aren't these female characters that are necessarily in a position of needing to make these big decisions is because, I mean, that's a byproduct of the fact that women are not really main characters in films very often. I think the percentage is really low. I mean, I think the number of female protagonists in action adventure films is something in the range of 23 to 27%. So I think that's one of the reasons. And just to answer your question about, like, does Claire kind of bring some sort of like maternal element to it? I mean, at first, no, not at all. And I think that's kind of cool, and that is something that gets awakened within her. But I really liked playing a character who was a woman, who was in a position of power and in a position of authority, and had kind of lost her femininity. And because that is what a lot of women need to do in order to stay in a position of leadership or to stay in a position of power. And her journey in this film is actually reconnecting with her feminine side and reconnecting with her maternal instincts and actually finding a greater and a deeper power within herself, because that now becomes balanced. She is as feminine as she is masculine, and that's when her real strength comes out. So I love the kind of the deeper meanings within this story, and the fact that this is this character, and that it's in this movie, and that this story is being told in a Jurassic World film and in a Jurassic film period is it's on a personal level. It's very, very meaningful, because I think it's important. I think that it's important that young boys and young girls see characters like this depicted in film.
Awesome. Going from that quite big stuff to something very small and specific, it looks like it's a hell of a lot of fun to let off a flare and have that moment. And like actually doing that scene, that sequence in the film, what was it like for you to do something that's kind of like an iconic moment from the first film and just fun holding a flare full stop? So
a flare, I don't know if it's a little known fact, sort of, I wasn't that aware of it, is very dangerous. It is so dangerous. And when we were shooting that sequence, we'd been night shooting for several weeks. And when you're night shooting, you get a little bleary-eyed, so you can't really get a full night's sleep during the day, because it's the day and it's light outside, and I've got kids, and so the kids, were awake during the day, so I wanted to be with them. So I remember when the moment, when it came to be that I needed to hold the flare, I was like, okay, wake up, pay attention here, because the guy who handed me the flare, basically, like, as he was handing it to me, he was like, make sure if it gets hot at all, you drop it immediately, no matter what is happening. And I was like, okay, because it can really burn you. So yeah, I mean, the flare is dangerous, but kind of exhilarating as well, as dangerous things are.
Perfect. Great. I'm getting some hand signals. I'm going to get up and depart.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for talking to me today.
Light it up!